I'm an overthinker, if you didn't know. Sometimes
I didn't think you thought at all.
Sometimes, well, I alternate between thinking too much and thinking not at all. And this is, I overthink about things like log stops. Let me know in the comments if you want to hear my dad play the guitar in this next video. Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farms, and I've got my dad out here to help me again today. And today we're gonna mill this cherry log into some lumber, and we're gonna try to perfectly match it in thickness to the wood I've got dried in the shed. And it won't be perfect, but we're gonna get as close as we can. So we've got the mill set up and ready to go, and I just need to trim the ends off the log. What I've been trying to decide, this splits 3 ways. We're gonna definitely have to cut the bottom off. But I was looking at it, it's pretty straight from that end across where this split is. I think it's straight enough we might just put this on there and see what happens. If this doesn't come out good on the end, it's no big loss. But we see if we can save this and mill this. Maybe even put this up and mill that crotch into a live edge.
You might get a few boards that have a longer length by leaving that.
Well, if I'm gonna cut it, I need to roll it over in the grapple. Look at that color. Put her in the old saw boss. And maybe I won't have to look for it next time. So my dad beat me out to the sawmill today. Of course, I live here and he's an hour away, so that's kind of bad. But we're doing a little bit of setup work. This will only be the second time we've ever ran the mill, and the log stops are hitting on my stand and won't drop down far enough. I was going to use a torque wrench to see if I was getting this torqued properly, but my torque wrench is 3/8 drive and this is 1/2 drive, and I don't know if I have an adapter, so we'll do that another day. One thing from last time I didn't mention, you always take the tension off your blade and off of these cables, set it all the way down. So 1/2, 1/2, 2, 1/2, 3. Last time I noticed when we got down to the cant, the blade was coming up into the cut, so there was a little bit of a taper at the start of each cut, and looking into why that is, and it could be the blade wasn't tight enough. Also, I didn't have my blade guide scooted out far enough, and we weren't running any lube, so we'll see if it does better today. The weather is absolutely beautiful. So this is the cherry that I got from Tony whenever I went up and milled with him. And this stuff is dried already, and it's exactly 1 inch. So what we need to match this is 1 1/8 to 1 1/4 dimensional lumber, which means I need a cant. I don't need to try to get the live edge off of this fork, because that's not what we're trying to get out of it. So I think I might turn this into like some shiplap and do like an accent wall or something. We'll see how it goes. So what I'm going to do now is I tried to save that crotch and mill it, but I don't think it's worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. What I was wanting to happen, or what I thought would happen from the way I was using that scale, is that this would be a full inch. And it's definitely not.
To 3/4.
Line them up. 1 inch. Okay, so as you go down, this one is giving you a longer inch than this one. So I took that to mean that if you go an inch here, you're getting an inch plus the blade kerf. So that moving this, if I make one cut at 1 inch, and the next cut at 2, and the next cut at 3, I'm removing an inch plus the blade kerf, and that I should be getting an inch thick lumber. Is that, I mean, that makes sense, right?
Try the white one and we'll see what we get.
I think I was, wasn't I?
No, I don't know. I thought the yellow one was on top.
Well, let's take a look at that. That may be all it is. Because these marks are definitely more than an inch. Okay, here each mark is 2 inches plus the saw kerf. So that 2 and 4 don't line up, because this has 1 saw kerf out of it and this has 2 saw kerfs for every 2 inches. So that's why this scale taking in saw kerfs, the 2 and 4, 3 and 6 don't match up, and it gets more off as you go.
Yeah,
if you're making,
see that.
So this scale is meant to be used the way I was just trying to use it. I saw one guy saying that on his, neither one of these was an inch. So I'm gonna discount the top inch and set 1 inch on 1 inch on this, and come down 2's on 2, 8's on 8. Yeah, so this is exactly on the inches. Now I don't know. Okay, then this second one, the other side of the yellow scale is 4/4. So this is true inches. This is inches accounting for drying. I think it's drying, because if it was saw kerf, it would match this one. But see, these are even thicker. Well, let's go down. 10 inches is about 8 1/4. So that's a huge difference. It's not just saw kerf. This one is saying if someone wants 1 inch boards, you can cut it at 1 inch on this scale and get your 1 inch dry lumber. So we've got 3 scales. We have true dimension minus saw kerf at 1 inch and 2 inch, and then we've got dimension with a guess at dry time. With the people use 4/4 to, some people interchange 4/4 and say it's the same as 1 inch, but there's another understanding where 4/4 is like 1 1/4 inches, because it's going to dry to 1 inch. So what I want to do, what I need is a reference where when I cut 1 inch, the board's 1 inch. So let's do a little trial and error and find that. So getting the thickness of wood you want is not as easy as it might seem. I'm gonna use this log to try to test and get an exact measurement. So basically the mill came with these two magnetic scales that you use for judging the height of your mill head and the thickness of your cut. And each of them has two different measurement systems on them. And I thought I understood them all. But the one I think should be subtracting my blade kerf is still not giving me the right dimension. I moved this 1 inch and I'm getting 3/4 inch boards. Yeah, we'll take another inch off now. One thing we found is there's a set screw right here, and adjusting that out has helped, because I think sometimes as I was cutting that was moving a little bit because there was nothing to stop it. So we've adjusted this screw out so it drops into the hole better. Also, I was concerned earlier that our cut was coming up as it started. It isn't doing that right now. I think part of it might just be having the blade guide out. Now, I've turned this until it's just right at the height of the last cut. And I'm gonna try using the other scale and see, because what I wanna figure out today is how do I get the measurement I want off these scales. So this yellow one, the right side, is marked 4/4. Now I'm gonna go down 1 inch on it. Which is close to 1.25 inches in reality, but let's see what thickness of board we get from that. I gotta go to baseball tonight. You wanna go to a baseball game?
Yep. I gotta get guitar practice.
Guitar practice. Are you getting better with all the practice?
Yep.
Well, that's not the point anyway. Are you having a good time?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing though, you know, a 6-year-old starts and in 2 years he's playing well. A 62-year-old starts and in 2 years he's kind of still fumbling.
Takes him two tries to get his age.
Huh?
It takes him 2 tries to get his age right.
Yeah, no kidding. And that's the thing, young people learn at so much faster rate. You know, in just a few years they've mastered a language. When you're an adult, learning an unknown language would take a long time.
I'm making jokes, but that's the truth. Let me know in the comments if you want to hear my dad play the guitar in this next video. So, when I use the 4/4 scale, I'm getting 1.125 inches. Now, that part makes sense. If you asked me beforehand, what thickness of board will you get when you use the 4/4 scale, I would have said 1.125 inches. Because my understanding is that means it'll dry to a 1-inch board when you cut 4/4. What I still don't understand is why I don't get a 1-inch board when I use that other scale. Rolling, rolling, rolling. I think we got the hang of this. You know, I don't know what I'm going to do when I have to cut one of these by myself. Pretty smooth operation with you helping me.
Got the can hook over there. Do you need it? That is why those are bad. It's kind of obvious.
What?
These here, bevel, because it will just slide down that. It's more likely to just slide down that if it lands on it.
Now, see, don't do that.
Huh?
That messed it up. Because we were tied up against there, and then pushing where there's no stop.
Yeah.
push
Why
this
you gotta
back.
stop there, Shane?
Well, most
We
guys
don't
say
need, that'll work.
you're better off using 2 stops and 1 clamp, especially when this isn't some gargantuan round log that wants to roll right now. It wants to sit where it is.
Yeah.
Now, we're not rolling this anymore. We're cutting all the way down.
Uh-huh.
That's when if you put it up against these, you can just cut and cut and cut and not have to stop it.
Yeah.
But because of these, if we go 1 too far, cut the stop off. We probably just take these out.
Don't do that.
Yeah. But either way, we have to replant this, so let's just replant it. So,
You might be more trouble than you're worth.
yeah. Hey, we got to figure out a routine here. It's learning. We're learning. And I'm an overthinker, if you didn't know. Sometimes,
I didn't think you thought at all.
well, I alternate between thinking too much and thinking not at all. And this is, I overthink about things like log stops. Well, look at that. It's pushing on all 3 of those stops.
Like I said, it ought to once it's square.
A couple of experts here cutting square camps. What we found out on that last cut is that we're getting a consistent 1 1/8 thick board by using the 4/4 scale. And I guess for now that's good enough for me. I don't like not understanding things, so it's going to drive me crazy messing with figuring out the measurements on that other scale. But for today, I want 1 inch finished product on these boards after they dry. So cutting them at 4/4 is like 1 1/4 inches minus the saw kerf gives us an 1 1/8 board. It should dry to 1 inch. So we're just going to slab the rest of this, and it is 8 1/4 by 8. So we should get maybe 7, maybe only 6 of those height-wise 1 by 8 after drying. So not too bad out of that little log, and you'll make something crafty out of all that live edge over there.
You bet.
I'm putting him on the job. We got to use it for something, but if not, I'm going to set up a station in here and turn all the slab wood into firewood. It'll burn just fine in a fire.
Yeah.
Actually, this being cherry, everyone's been telling me I should put this in a smoker.
Yeah.
So after we're done with this, we're going to try to turn some oak 2x12s into 2x4s on here. But I was just looking at the color. When you first cut this, it's kind of pink. Then when it dries, it looks almost like cedar. Darkens up quite a bit. But then if you plane this and splash a little water on it, like a finish, it comes out a really nice light red color. I think I've got some clips I can put in here showing what I made out of some of this cherry. So all the other ones we cut were 1 1/8 inches. This is 1 1/4 inches.
Close enough.
And it's 1.5 inches on the end.
Planer will take care of that.
Because one conversation is if the end of your log
Uh-huh.
is an in under something, it can do that a little
It
bit.
can bow down a little.
Yeah. This was the first log we did on the mill, and I didn't know what we wanted, so we made 2x12s. And I think we're gonna want, these aren't long enough to be beams or rafters on the new building, so we're gonna turn them into 2x4s that can be our side-to-side boards, the purlins for the board and batten siding. So we're gonna need 2x4s that are about 6 to 8 feet long. And this will be our first ones for the building. So out of that first log, we ended up with 24 2x4s, 9 foot long. That's not bad considering that looked like a junk log. Then this log that my friend Mike gave me, we've got, let's see how many of these do we have. We won't count this live edge one, but so we have 6 that after drying will be a true 1x8, about, what are these, about 8 foot long.
Yeah.
And I love it. We're going to accumulate a lot of lumber this way. And I think before I cut another log, I'm going to spend a day out here optimizing this work area. I need little hooks right here where I can hang like a trowel and a brush. You don't want the sawdust sticking to wet wood and causing your boards to mold before they can even start to season. So I need to have a tool out here to clean it with. I need to have a slab rack set up, a way to process the slabs, build a little stacking area for the lumber. Need to get this area more efficient before we really tear into it. Today was a good process. We definitely need something to deal with the sawdust. So we'll have a video on getting this into a more optimized workstation. But I appreciate you guys taking time to watch the video. Put links on the screen to more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.